13. We're honored to have the Eaststeps with us again. They will be going back to the Philippines, and I think Johnny said 3 weeks, but Johnny, Robin, and Nathan have blessed us by being with us today, and I think we should be honored to have people who have a commitment likened unto theirs. Try to draw from them anything that you can learn and values that need to be a part of ourselves. You know, I was just kind of thinking through an understanding of the eternal purpose of God and how God's working. And every time God needed a man, He started with a little boy. Little boy Moses. God cared for him and looked after him, and then he led God's people. I think a little boy, John the Baptist. And then he understood his position. And he said, I must decrease, but he must increase. And there was a little boy, Jesus. And he knew what his position was. And he accepted that. I'm convinced that there's a little boy in these United States that God will use mightily. I don't know his name. I don't even know that I'm correct, but I know that when God needs a man, He will have created him from a little boy. And that man will take his place in God's kingdom. And when I look through the Bible, when I get the understanding of the way that God works and how God kept Moses alive, how God kept Jesus alive, and how God kept you alive. Seldom do I hear anybody talk about never having an experience where they could have lost their life or where the course of their life could be severely altered. God's brought us here. That's the eternal purpose of God. I think I've got something that's encouraging for us this morning. I know it encourages me. I hope what encourages me can be shared with you in a capacity where you are able to hang on to it for the rest of your life. It will or should encourage. Now, I always try to realize how much God loved me, Jesus loved me, in the giving of themselves in the person of Jesus, that I could have salvation. God needed a God to be satisfied with a sacrifice, but God needed a man that you and I might identify with him. So God created a little boy, God-man. So man could understand me, and so God could satisfy God by sacrifice. Oh my, the eternal purpose of God is so much bigger than my mind will allow me to absorb. I'm in Matthew 13. I'm seeing me in the purpose of God. It's a common parable. I read quite a few commentaries to see how that this was perceived. I found no commentary that went past 7 points. I'm going to suggest to you to an 8th that I think is overwhelming. And frankly, I got it last week out of Daniel 8 when we studied Daniel 8. And I studied all week looking further at that point, trying to verify to myself that it was legitimate, and I had heard it from no one else, but I didn't want to say something that wasn't correct. So we'll look at it, but it'll be the 8th point, not 1 through 7, of what God is saying. It's the one I want to stick in our thinking. But as I spoke about little boys, I want you to move back and think about our country. We got a Memorial Day, and we look at our country. Well, we got here at 1492. That's 1500. Let's round it off. Make it a little easier on me. But we didn't declare our independence from Great Britain till 1776. Let's make that in 1800. And we declared our independence because we wanted freedom of religion. And we didn't want to pay them taxes. But freedom of religion to study our Bible and look in our Bible. Okay, 1800. Well, you know what year it is. We're not that old as a nation. Well, what would we do at first? Well, we were 13 little colonies, all on the East Coast. I mean, I thought it was humorous that when I lived in Ohio, we were called the Midwest. You need to relook at your map. Mid-East maybe, but not Midwest. Midwest. But as we settled, I don't know if you've ever been to Colorado, but I mean, it baffles my imagination to cross the Rocky Mountains in a, like horse or oxen pulling that which they pull. And how do I do that? I found it difficult to drive. And I've got so many horsepower to be able, and you got your family with you? You got a wagon, and you're trying to cross the Rocky Mountains? And yet we've gotten all the way. And we've used these years to do it. But do you see the men that have gone before us and studied the Bible because they wanted the privilege of studying their Bible? And so they left state church, Church of England, which protested Roman Catholicism, which protested, watch it, New Testament Christianity. You and I now have the privilege, and there's little boys that are going to work on this, to look into the Bible and restore the church that's in the Bible. Now, if we've gotten there off of men sitting by candles and studying. I don't know how long you study before your eyes hurt, but I'm thinking in candlelight it would be a much shorter time. But men wanted to know what God had to say. God will always raise up people that want to know what He has to say. And we'll share it with other people. Look at this and see, 3 big lessons. Starting about 24 of 13. Now really there's 7 parables here, but we're going to study but one. Another parable put He forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed. Now, I'm big for numbering things because that helps me out. And if you And I don't know that you want to number yet, but I think you do want to number when we explain the parable. But the numbers will jive, so you can do it now. It will suffice for then too. But number 1 is a man which sowed. Number 2, in his field. And number 3 is he sowed good seed. Well, why'd you get out of order, Foy? I got out of order because of the interpretation thereof, or the explanation by Jesus. He will reorder them, that's all. But while men slept, ooh, watch that. Boy, an underline slept. Why do we allow ourselves to go to sleep on things that are mighty and scriptural? Why do we allow ourselves to go to sleep? I think it's crucial to understand Matthew 13:19. The purpose of the devil is to steal the word out of your heart. You know how he does that? You fall asleep. If you're not putting more in than he's taking out, guess which way you're going? Oh, I've got to put more in than he's taking out. His purpose is to take it out. His purpose is to lull me to sleep, to where I still go to church, but I'm not putting the word in my heart. I'm just kind of rubbing it on my flesh. And it's sinking no deeper than the outside. Ooh. While men slept, his enemy came. The enemy's number 5. And sowed tares, that's number 4, among the wheat. And went his way while men slept. You see, liberalism is sown in you while you're asleep. Ultra-conservatism can be sown in you while you sleep. I've got to watch where I am and what I'm doing and how I'm maturing. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. Couldn't tell it when it was young. Think that one over. Think that one over, because it's imperative. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in the field? From whence then hath it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. I underline that enemy, because God is acknowledging, big point, evil in the world where you and I live. God is acknowledging evil in the world where you and I live. And he doesn't plan on fixing it. He doesn't plan on fixing it, except at the last day. So you and I have got to figure a way to live among evil without allowing ourselves to become evil. Oh, then I've got to pay attention to the influences that are around me. I've got to pay attention to the influences that are around me. God is acknowledging that. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will with the temptation also make a way of escape. God has got my exit planned, but I've got to pay attention and know that I'm looking for an exit. Strength of that verse I've felt for years. There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will with the temptation also make a way of escape. There is a way for me out of that if I will but look for it. And God is faithful. He's talking about that as we look and see what he's saying. An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? Now that's got a little 6 beside it. But he said no. Oh, God, you're going to leave the evil? No. Lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. No, because we could inadvertently hurt some of that which is good, the wheat. Oh, okay. Let both grow together. That's number 7. Let both grow together. God wants it the way it is right now. Well, what is he doing? You know, and I can't help but think that Hawaii is God saying to you and me, wake up. Do you not know that I can make the world into lava that burns? I want you to look at what I can do. I can do cyclone. I can do hurricane. I can do tornado. I can do tsunami. I can do lava flow. I am the God of this world. It's all mine. And I will take it in. Use that which I give you to bring yourself back to the position where you ought to be relative to me. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, gather you together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. I guess it'd be a good question to ask. Am I tare or wheat? I think it would be an imperative question to ask as I look at that. And I think through what God has said and how he's addressed it. And I would want to understand the existence of evil. I see that evil exists and God's going to allow it to continue to exist. But you know what I see also? I think this is really important. And I'll call it impossibility of judgment. Are you a tare or wheat? And I say, well, Lord, best I can figure out, he or she is wheat. He said, yeah, before you don't know enough to have made that figuring. Well, Lord, I'm trying to know enough. He said, yeah, but you'll never know enough. So you need to leave that alone. Matthew 7:1, judge not, lest you be judged. You need to leave that alone. Well, but Lord, you also said in Matthew 7:20, wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. And I'm just looking at the fruit of their life. He said, yeah. And you can know a lot about those that are about you, but you can't know enough to make the final judgment. Well, why is that, Lord? He said, because the final judgment's made in another place than by the fruit of their life. Ooh, where's it made, Lord? I'm in 1 Samuel. I'm in 16. Watch this, because it will help us all. 6 and 7. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I've refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Well, I'll be. That's why he taught me to be careful in my judgment, because all I can do is look on the outward appearance. I can't look into a man's heart. And therefore I can't know. But you know what that says about you and me? What that says is you can fake being a Christian. You can fake it. And you can fool quite a few people maybe. But that's not going to amount to anything, because there's somebody who is the judge that can look more deeply than outward appearance. And the only person that I really need to fool is the only person I can't fool. Because he looks on the heart. Well, now you're looking at the outside and you're not certain of a tare from a wheat. But he said, don't worry about making those distinctions. Make the distinction of yourself. Are you tare? Are you wheat? That's the one that you can make. That's the one that needs to be made. And I see that. But you know what else I learned here? I learned the ultimate separation of good and evil. Yes, it will ultimately be separated, and I know the good from the bad. I understand what he said about the good from the bad. I'm back in Matthew 13, and I start in verse 36, and I'll let him explain the parable. Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house. Now get the picture. And his disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. What does that mean? He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. That's number one, the equivalent to your number one when he said the parable. The field is the world. That's number two. That changes some misconceptions. People think this is talking about, some people think this is talking about church discipline. No, it's not. It's talking about you and me living in the world. Well, the field is the world. And he called it the kingdom. Watch that, because be careful when you limit the kingdom to never being any greater than the church. That's not the way the Bible speaks of it in every case. So we got to go for context to see what God's saying. The good seed of the children of the kingdom. The good seed of the Christians. That's number 3. Number 4, but the tares of the children of the wicked one. All right. Number 5, the enemy that sowed them is the devil. Number 6, the harvest is the end of the age. And I looked that up again just to make sure I was telling the truth. Not the world. The age. The end of the age. And like Scott has taught us on Wednesday night, the day of the Lord, there have been many of those of the day of the Lord. There have been many of those that are the end of the age. Not the end of the world. The end of the age. The harvest, the end of the age. And the reapers are the angels. That's number 7. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world, or the end of this age. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. Look at what the reapers are doing. The angels. And shall cast them into the furnace of fire. And there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. You see the separation? Now, sometimes we preacher folk try to be dramatic for the sake of getting people's attention. Preached a sermon more than once. Called it Hell, You Better Believe It. The use of those words caught everyone's attention from the get-go. But the point is super accurate. We better believe it. And that's what he's talking about. Weeping and wailing and gritting your teeth. How bad you hurt? How bad you hurt? I watched a 16-year-old boy flying back from a grandson's graduation. I don't have any idea. You medical people may fill me in. But there was something about that plane descending that made him shove the side of his head as hard as he could shove it. And big tears rolled down his face. And he'd pull his shirt up because he was embarrassed to wipe the tears off of his face. And his grandmother handed him a pack of peanuts. That gave away the airline, didn't it? He hurt so badly that he just tore it open and threw peanuts everywhere. Picked up two, trying to chew them, trying to release the pressure on his head. I've never seen anyone have problems like that. Was simply the airplane moving down. We're talking about pain here like you've never felt. You have never felt. Weeping, wailing, gnashing your teeth. Pain like you've never felt. Heard a big guy say once, I don't believe in that Christianity stuff. I'm a big, strong fella, and I'm not afraid of going to hell. Whoop-de-doo, buddy. There's a day coming when you're going to think you made the stupidest mistake that you've ever made. Do I hear that? Do I hear that? That says that to me. I hope that says that to you. But oh, the point I want you to get. And I marked it number 8 in my Bible. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of the Father. Turn over to Daniel 8 and you'll see what threw me to this. Daniel 8 and verse 10. And I looked at that, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground. You know, he's talking about luminaries. And what's he saying there? It's the children of God that are illustrated as the luminaries. You're there. Now don't leave there. Hold that and turn to Genesis 15:5, because this is not a new point. When the promise was made to Abraham in 15:5, and he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto them, So shall thy seed be. Abraham's faithful seed was illustrated as the stars of heaven. What did we see in Daniel 8? We saw the stars, the faithful seed, cast to the ground. Look, if you will, in Daniel 12. And he does it again. Verse 3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Back to Matthew 13 and the last point. I wish I could say it better. 43. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. You know what we just got through doing, 42? We just got through burning up all the bad stuff. And now what have we got left? We got the luminaries. God calling you as the sun, the star, the moon, all the luminaries. And how bright do they shine? When there's no darkness. Ooh. I need a better pair of sunglasses to stand here. I can't help but think of 1 John. He says, this is the message which we have heard of him and declare unto you, that God is light and in him is no darkness at all. No darkness at all. Are you in Christ Jesus? You are the stars, the sun, the moon. Am I comforted with that? I ought to be. Because this is after all of the darkness has gone away. How bright is the light when there's no darkness? No gray. No gray. Just the brightness of God. And you who are of God. Have I ever seen a clear contrast? And I think the answer is yes. I understand who the light, and I understand the darkness. And I think it's so interesting. He says in 1 John 1 that this then is the message which you've heard of him and declare unto you, that God is light and in him is no darkness at all. If we say we have fellowship with him, watch this, and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth. Ooh, that tells me I now want to live better than I wanted to live before I understand that. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another. And the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanseth us of what? All sin. God imputes to me righteousness when I walk in the light, Romans 4. He imputes to me for righteousness. I don't live flawlessly. God gives me flawlessness through his Son. I like the end of Matthew 13. I like that verse. Do you see us standing there after all the darkness has been burned up? And we are the light. God is the light. We are the light. You know, when that dawned on me, I'm sitting in a public place. I started singing, thank God lowly. But I started singing. And I had to pervert a song, but the song hit me like a thunderbolt. I perverted it by changing one word. And I sang, there's a bright day coming. There's a bright day coming. There's a bright day coming by and by. Wow. You know, there's an ad on TV right now that says there's not much good that takes place after midnight. So try to be in before that. The point is that most of the evil takes place in the dark. And you and I want to be in the light real badly because we learned where the darkness will go and how it will be taken care of. We want to be children of light. Somebody may call you a holy roller. Is that the worst you can do to me? That's all you got. You bring it on. Call me anything you want. I want to live as close as my ability will give me to what he wants me to live. And unashamedly, throw any words. I've got brethren that suffered way greater than words. I like the end of that. I hope you do too. If you're not a Christian, I can't imagine wanting to stay there. And if you're a Christian that knows you haven't quite put together the appreciation that you want to for being a child of light, to the point where you've got the courage to say, I am a child of light. I want to walk in the light. It's important to me to do all I can to walk in the light. And I'm going to work to stuff book in my heart way more quickly than the devil is pulling it out of my heart. And then give me 30 or 40 years, Lord, and I'm going to look a whole lot more like you on that day than I do today. If for any reason you're subject to the invitation of Jesus, let us know as together we stand and sing.